Peace. Hopefully all is well with everyone. Getting ready to get started. Ready. Just about there. Trying to get last platform up and going. Tada, thank you for your patience. Ew, my greatness. All right. Let's see. Make sure everybody can see and hear us all right. I think we're there. All right, I think we're great to go. Come on. Get some water real quick. Okay, I think we're situated. Shalom, peace, peace, peace. Let's get ready and get started. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Today's message, Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste, Osayani Kitsubuya, Ohio, I see you, Manut, Wagwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida, Aloha, Ciao, Monson, Privet, Habaragani, Apuaba, Madaase, Intese, Jambo, Mimini Kofi, the Farako Katana Wewe, Boker To, Boker Tav, greetings, salutations, grand risings, happy Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom, Hana Aikwa, Chilited Servants of Christ, Mashalom Chi, Barak, Shalom, peace and blessings, so to speak. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives, one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We appreciate your presence. Thank you for being on with us one more again as we get into this word and as we continue to see what the Most High has for us. Prayerfully, everybody's making it through the transition from winter to spring. Don't forget that we started yesterday removing the leaven from our home. We'll have a message. Probably do something that'll pop up on TikTok and Facebook Clapper, social media, Facebook, everything in general later on throughout the day. We're trying to do something for you guys, a video every day. And we're thankful and grateful for another opportunity to be with you one more again. We give our honor and praise once again to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for Almighty Honorable Amma, to the ministerial staff, SOC, Lottie Dye, everybody. We so much, very much, so much appreciate you. And thank you for joining us one more again as we continue in this word. We'll have, a lot of stuff going on schedule-wise, as we always do, including the podcast. Get a preach word from Elder Anais later. We're excited about that. Continue to keep her in prayer. She's continuing to heal. She says she's feeling fine and divine. All praises to the Most High. And she's going to continue on what messages she had last week. And then we are going to go from there to Shabbat school for the babies. We're going to do a watch party after that, 12:15 p.m. New York time, where we continue in Reclaiming the Throne. Series we've been doing. I think we've had a couple weeks off or a week off, something like that. But we will be back on track this week. We will have the video that I'm talking about come out at some point later today. At 2 p.m. New York time, we're going to do something like a regional type meeting, talk about some different things. It's usually a SOC international meeting, but we're going to kind of put it back to a regional type meeting. So prayerfully, everything and everybody will be, everything will be well, and prayerfully you can attend at least for part of that. And there was something that we were supposed to talk about. I said that I would try to speak on. Oh yeah, actually that's going to be our main thing for removing the leaven from our home. We'll actually use it kind of double up. So we'll actually have a meeting, and then probably about somewhere about like 2:20, hopefully somewhere between 2:20 2:30, we'll take some Q&A as far as removing the leaven from our home. If there's questions that you have, and yeah, so we'll do that today. We have a men's meeting with a special teacher today. One of our brothers is going to be teaching at the men's meeting, so we're going to learn from them as we go through our 12 steps of manhood, or 12 keys to biblical manhood series we're in the midst of for them. And then later on, we'll continue hashtag SOC University, and we'll be talking about what classes tonight. Did sovereignty last night. Sorry, Black History, Hebrew characters, sovereignty, and wow, I'm having a moment. I have to look it up, but we will have SOC University. I'm forgetting what class comes tonight. We do so much stuff. So anyways, but that'll be at 9 p.m. New York time. And keep looking in your text train if you're part of that those text trains, so that you can see. We did put recordings of some of the stuff, some of the classes for you to look at in there, as well as we put the book we were talking about that we're going to use to go over common law. Next Friday, we put that in there. It's like $5.50, I believe, for you to be able, including shipping, I believe. It's $5.50 for you to get the book that we're going to be using. So feel free to join us for those things. And just, you should get Google Calendar invites for all the stuff, or some kind of message during the day as a reminder for all the stuff we have going on. All right, let's get into today. We have a shorter time than usual anyways. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 8, and we're going to read verse 9. We're going to take our time with these seven trumpets. Verse 9 kind of goes with verse 8 a little bit, but we're going to still use our time to go through Revelation chapter 8, verse 9. Natural medicine, thank you. The natural medicine class is tonight. I'm out. All right, so thank you, everybody. If you can rise your feet in reverence of Yahweh's word while turning to Revelation chapter 8, verse 9, or however you're able to reverence the word, we thank you for doing so in advance. Let's say shalom to everybody. Shabbat shalom to everybody. How you doing, Elder Anais, Brother Keith, Minister Tismail Lorraine, Sister Carla, Sister Allison, everybody on all the different platforms. Thank you so much for being on. How you doing, Brother Darius, Sister Shirley, Sister, I think I saw Sister Beth, Juma, the Duke of Earl, is it? Syrup, and anybody I might be missing, charge to my head, not to my heart. How you doing, Minister Stephen? Excuse me. If I miss anybody, please forgive me. Thank you for being on, whether you're watching live or watching later on. Let's go ahead and get ready to get started. All praise to the Most High. Come on, alrighty. We'll go ahead and get started. And thank you, everybody. Once again, we appreciate you. Feel free to like, by the way, thank you for any likes, shares, subscriptions, hit the notification tab, etc., etc. Even those of you who might do certain things as far as helping things that we do around the world, even from donations, etc. We thank you so much, and thank you, everybody, for being on. If this is something that bothers you regularly, or this is something that you catch and you like a lot, and you want to be part of what we're doing, feel free to go ahead and join us and be part of what we're doing in this great nation. Aman, we being a branch of the nation of SOC, hashtag we be the nation. All right, hashtag we be the nation, Revelation. Aman. All right, here we go. You can put your right hand, your Bible, your device in the air. Just repeat after me. This is my Bible. This is my sword. In this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahweh. Aman. Which is in Yahweh's Shem. His name is authority. Let it be done unto us. We're going to read Revelation chapter 8 and verse 9. That'll be our focal verse for today. Revelation chapter 8 and verse 9. It reads as follows. In the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. We're going to do this one more again. You ready? And the third part of the creatures that were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. We just read Revelation chapter 8, verse 9. May Yah barak those, may Chashvaz barak those, may Ravach HaKodash barak those who read it this, hear it this, and keep it this. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. How you doing, Brother Rodney? How you doing, Big Roy? How you doing, Double OG, Triple OG? So, Aman. So we can see these things, and we need to realize and see what's going on in these trumpets. So this is the third. I'm sorry, excuse me. This is actually I'm sorry. We're gonna have to move a little bit, but we're gonna add verse 10. Excuse me, I did this wrong. We're gonna add verses 10 and 11. I might have to rename this in the recording. We really did Revelation chapter 8 verse 8, Revelation chapter 8 verse 9. Sorry, goes with it. I apologize. I don't know why I have Revelation 8, 9 on the brain. Okay, let's add verses 10 and 11. Excuse me. We'll use this as a segue. Excuse me. We're going into the third trumpet today. I'm sorry. My apologies. I have. We're supposed to use this as a transition scripture. My fault. I'm going to read Revelation chapter 8 verses 10 and 11 real quick as well. It reads as follows. It says, "The third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood." All right, the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Excuse me. We just read Revelation chapter 8, verses 8 through 11, verses 8 through, Revelation chapter 8, verses 9 through 11. May you have those who read it, this, hear it, this, and keep it this. All right, excuse me. So, reason I have Revelation chapter 8, verse 9 in my head, we went over Revelation chapter 8, verse 8 on yesterday, and we talked about the blood that's in the waters, the plagues that are happening upon in the waters. And by the way, the waters, the reason why we kind of touching a little bit on what we talked about yesterday is because these waters in dreams, water can mean spirit, but also a little known fact and little thought about thing for us sometimes is that water also represents people or persons or nations, right? So when we talk about this stuff in the waters, right, when we even see, when you have dreams, a lot of persons, when you have dreams, a little known fact is that when you're dealing with water, a lot of time you are dealing with people or you're dealing with the circumstance of coming out of a nation or dealing with certain things that are going on, right? So the waters being affected is extremely important, right? And once again, what others are afraid of, we rejoice in, right? So when we talk about yesterday and the water and the blood that's coming in the water gets to a point where it's destroying a lot of life, a lot of people in this time during this third trumpet, during this third shofar. Remember, it's the shofar, it's the trumpet. And so if it's the shabbat or the shofar, then it's the trumpet. Then when the trumpet sounds, right, it's the trumpet and it's made from the ram's horn, right? And who is the ram that we pay attention to? Who is the lamb that was slain for all sins? Who is the one that somebody will falsify and try to make themselves a lamb, a version of it later on in Revelation chapter 13? That the lamb, the true lamb, is Yehoshua, right? The true ram. Therefore, when we have the ram's horn, the shofar, it's what Yehoshua is presenting to us, right? We are in a situation to where the shofar is sounding, and so the people, right, this is a warning to us, right? And really for us, this is a call to action. That when we see that the people are suffering, we know that revelation is taking place, right? When we see that the waters are suffering, when we see the blood, right, that covers us is the blood that actually seeps into the water. And now there's a distinction between us. If you notice, it doesn't say all of the water. It doesn't say all of it, right? It doesn't say all of the in Revelation chapter 8, verse 8, when the fire is cast and whatever, it says the third part of the sea became blood, right? a third of the part of the creatures. So there's distinction that's made, right? How you doing, Sister Greta? And prayerfully, you saw was able to finally send something out to you, right? So this warning is something that some of us will see and heed to and already be prepared for, as we talked about yesterday, and some of us will not necessarily be prepared, right? But there's a third part of the waters, and then the creatures that lived in the waters, right? Those creatures who live in society, those creatures, see, it's symbolic. So it's not just talking about physical fish. Sometimes we think about, oh yeah, it's just gonna be physical fish, this and that. Remember, there is a lot of symbolism. Bavakasha. There is a lot of symbolism, right, that happens in these things. How you doing, Yehuda ben Yesfer? Right, there is a lot of symbolism that's going on, and in the symbolism, in this vision, in this dream, right, same kind of symbolism goes on, same kind of cultural context. So we see a third part of the people of the waters, and there are those persons who live in these nations, those persons who feed off of this stuff, those who are in this environment, in the water, right? Fish are in the environment, they're in the water, and these fish, these living creatures, end up dying off. It says that they had life, but they died. Right? They had life, but they died. So these creatures that are living, going about life, thinking, everyday things, whatever just as in the days of Noah, and then they die, and then it talks about a third part of the ships are destroyed. Now, what do ships do? Right? If we look at the symbolization, right? That's symbolism. What is ships? What do ships do? And you have to think, right? We're also looking through the context of where we're looking at what happened in those days are things that are used as a microcosm to show us what's happening today. So ships sail, right? Yes, they move. But what else do they do? They go through the water, right? So they go through the people, they go through the nations. What else happens if we think of what goes on with ships? That's right. They float and they transport. So things that should be transported are affected now, right? Transportation is affected now. Things that are supposed to, be going from nation to nation are stopped, right? And we can even look at some of this stuff even in I want to be careful because we don't 100% know all of this, right? But there are things that we can look at. For example, look at what they did to me. I don't know if that's a way of greeting somebody, but okay, how are you doing? If that's the best you got. So, look at all these different things that are going on, right? And look at all these different things that are happening in society, right? Look at all the different things that are going on with tariffs, for example, right? And I know the Supreme Court just canceled whatever, even though they're going to try to get around it. And I'm not a Republican or Democrat. Once again, we're not here for that. I'm just giving examples, right? Look at even war that happens on ships, right? Look at the different things that are happening and how ships are used to not only ship things. Look at what's happened with shipping the people. Right? When we talked about yesterday, these mountains must fall. Well, look at all these different things that happen. This is really still part of yesterday, but we're using this to kind of transition into today's thought process, right? But look at all these things that are out there where things are being corrupted, or things that have been used to corrupt. Now we're starting to see persons are starting to catch on. See, one of the things that we forget about Revelation as well is that it doesn't tell us that nobody else outside of us is going to catch on to what's going on. But it tells us that only we are going to be prepared, because we're preparing ourselves and we're separating from the system. So persons are noticing all these things, right? The thing that makes it really hard to deal with some of this stuff, right, especially when we try to stay separate from the world, is that while going through all these different things, and thank you, moderators, I see, while we're going through all these different things, we have persons who notice it, but they're trying to go through it a different way outside of the governances of the four beasts that we see in Revelation chapter 4. They're trying to go through it outside of the Lamb. Revelation chapter 5, they're not paying attention to, they see what's going on, but don't recognize, they will not recognize. The Bible told us that these things were going to happen as far as the four horsemen, even the book Behold the Pale Horse, right? We had this stuff written out in Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 through 8, right? We know that vengeance is coming and that it must happen, and everything that everybody's talking about, no justice, no peace. We knew that in Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. It's not that these persons don't recognize what's going to happen, and it's not even that some of these persons who are wicked do not recognize that these things must fall, because remember, even Christ, when he was upon the earth and he dealt with the man who had Legion inside of him, and then Legion realized that he thought, because he saw Christ, he was flipping out, because he was like, is it the end times? Is it right? Is it his eschatology was not all the way there, because he goes, wait a minute, are you here to end everything, right? And then he says, well, if it's not time, right, please bid me, because he's the Messiah, he's the Lord, and even though he's a fallen angel, he still must bow down. He says, hey, can you bid that I please allow me to go into the pigs? Or allow me to go into the pigs, that I might be able to go ahead and live, right? And he does so, right? He allows it and he does so, and then he runs off. And just like it tells us later on, we've talked about this a little bit already, but we'll talk about how later on when the mountains, right, in this series, by the way, we've been doing this series since January 1st. So in the series later, in this scroll, this book of Revelation, we will discover later on how this is something that must happen, right? That these persons who are the 1% of the 1%, persons who've been doing evil, persons who think they're getting away with stuff, they will know when Christ shows up. And when Christ shows up, they will pray and ask for and yell and be like, please let the mountains, let the things that we built fall upon us. Even persons who are busy building all of these bunkers and everything all around, trying to make sure that they stay away from what's about to happen, right? They know that that things will probably go awry at their behest, at what they put together, what they've tried to make happen. And how you doing, Payne? I can't say the whole name, but thanks for being part of the community. How you doing? Do I think Jesus was black? First of all, Jesus is half man, half Zeus. So I know that person didn't exist. But if you're talking about his actual name, Yeshua, he would have been a person that if we want to qualify it as today's standards, we would have said he's a so-called black man. Does that mean that a white person can't listen or hear the word? That doesn't mean that you're saved automatically because you're black. Doesn't mean that you don't have to work out your salvation anymore with fear and trembling. Of course not. But if that's what you come in with, that's a mindset that you have. That's not mine, right? How you doing, Sister Taylor? And thank y'all for the love, right? So, and all these different things that are going on, we must recognize. See, and that's why we have to know this stuff for ourselves. Because somebody will come on and be like, I see a black person on there with locks. He must think that Jesus has to be black, and that means that everybody who's not. No. That's racist values you're holding on to. You got to leave those at the door. All right. But that being said. That being said, how you doing, Popeye? Thanks for being on, and thank y'all for the love. So that being said, getting back on track. I don't have as much time as I normally do, so we got to get back on track. So that being said, we're dealing with a lot of persons who are not realizing that these things have been talked about, been addressed, and just because the world is starting to notice it, that's actually part of what we should be looking at, is that the world will notice. This is why the Antichrist spirit is going to be able to do what it does in these last days, because everybody's going to recognize the evil. So the Antichrist spirit will come in, as Revelation 13 tells us about the second beast, the one that has horns like a ram, right? So it sounds like, even the shofar sounds from the ram, the lamb slain for us is Yeshua. It seems to be Christ. It seems to be the Messiah. But the reality is it's not, and you have to pay attention to what they say, right? It says that their voice should remind you of the serpent. And if you know what the serpent has sounded like the whole time, then this stuff should not be something that's surprising you. You should be prepared for it, right? And how you doing, Sharon? Shabbat shalom to everybody coming in. So when we get to Revelation chapter 8, Revelation chapter 8, verse 10, this is when we see the third angel sound the shofar, his trumpet. So now this is the third warning, right? The third warning for us. So this third warning is what? This third warning, it says that there fell a great star from Shemayim, a great star from heaven. right? A great star from heaven. Now remember, what do stars represent? How you doing, Brother Yasser? What do stars represent for us? And we're talking about culturally. Once again, context is always king, right? Context is going to get us where we need to. So when you're reading even your Bible, you should recognize interpretation doesn't mean how you interpret it. It means what did the person mean when they said it? What was going on there? What is symbolization? What are these persons saying when they say it? What do stars mean? Come on, I see you. Messengers, right? A star is a messenger, and a star is an angel. An angel means a messenger, right? A lot of persons don't recognize that. So there are spiritual, if you will, like spirits that are messengers. There are human beings that are messengers. There can be fallen messengers, fallen angels, right? But these persons are messengers. They're supposed to work for the Most High. If they've fallen now, they work for the Satan because they can't go back to heaven. So now here they are upon Arats. They are not in hell, right? Right? Remember that they are not a child. They are not in hell, right? They are not nobody. As far as timeline, eternity and timeline are different. But as far as the timeline, nobody is in hell yet. As far as the timeline, nobody is in hell as of yet. In eternity, there are persons in hell. In our timeline, the first person that goes to hell in Revelation chapter 20 is the devil. That can be confusing to some, but this is why we have to make sure cultural context is connected, right? So, but there is a star that falls from heaven. Not to be confused with the stars that will fall from heaven in Revelation chapter 12. Those are fallen angels, right? And it's discussing the fallen angels. It's telling us again how they fell, how they decided to fight with the Satan, how they all lose. And when the Satan goes down, the fallen messengers, they come down to earth with him. And then they begin to look, right, for us, right? But they can't get to us, those who have already separated our nation. So since they cannot get to us, they start looking to get to the remnant, those who could become us, and try to war against them. They hate the fact that they lost to Christ. Really, they lost to the archangel, right, Michael, right, or Michael. They're upset about that. So then they come down. They try to come to us. We make sure that we use the clay, the word, to be right, and use our culture and stuff to be able to build up a wall against them. They can't come to the people of the Satan, the children of the devil. They can't make it to us. So then they turn their attention to those who are still in the remnant, and they begin to build a system to keep those persons hostage and make sure that they can take as many persons as they can with us, right, or with them, excuse me, and not allow them to become part of us. That's all in Revelation 12. We will get there eventually, hopefully sooner than later, but we're going to take our time in this series. I'm not going to rush. So now that we've gotten, right, so that's not, those stars, those angels. There are 7 stars. There's angels, there are messengers who are supposed to preach to the assemblies that are spread out throughout the world, dealing with those 7 spirits and those 7 things, so that the 7 spirits of Yah will be able to go ahead, right, will be able to speak a word and be able to show things, right, and to show us what's happening in Revelation. We're supposed to receive that. Now there's, right, but then there's this angel that it talks about here, right, this great star from heaven, and it burns as it were a lamp. So it's a light. It burns as if it is a lamp. So this star comes down. It's a great star. It's a great messenger. Therefore, really pay attention. This is a great message that must go forward into the earth realm, right? When we know that the third trumpet is sounded, right? The same waters, the same people. There's people who are already dying, going through things like that. There's things that are being delivered. Matter of fact, there are some. This is a personal thing that I believe, that I feel like Holy Spirit has shown me. That being said, I'm not going to be able to tell you this is just Holy Spirit led thing. I feel, pray about it. You don't have to agree with it. I'm just putting it out there. Holy Spirit's really putting it on me. I'm trying not to say this part, but it is what it is. I got to say it now. Even with the shipment, by the way, if we can just talk about the ships and shipment and deliveries, even a lot of that, I think I believe, I feel that a lot of that has to do even with things that are shipped in the World Wide Web. Things that are delivered amongst the people, and some of those things even killing some of the people, right? Or messing up with the mind. And even as the children say, they call it brain rot. Right? They even call it brain rot, right? These different things that are going on, right? So there's a lot of different things that are happening, right? In the second trumpet, when it sounds, but these things now transition to where there needs to be a great star, like a great light, a lamp, right? Remember, lamps, how are they used in the Bible? Once again, don't think of Revelation as some separate thing, right? What is the culture? What is the context consistently, thematically throughout the Word? You see a great lamp that comes down. Well, what are lamps, right? It tells us that the Word, the Lord is my light, my salvation. Of whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? The Word tells us that the Word itself is like a lamp unto our feet, right? It tells us that we are the light of the world, and we should not take a candle and hide it under a bushel. It tells us that we are a city that's set on a hill where persons can see us, right? Things being enlightened lamp. Even the first time that we see the word light, it's in English. In Hebrew, it actually means enlightenment. It means ara, enlightenment, right? So when it says he said, let there be light, he was saying, let there be enlightenment, because physical light, right? Physical luminaries do not exist until the fourth yom, the fourth period. Right, we call them days, but day in that context in Hebrew is talking about a period. How you doing, Minister Raj? So it's important that we have a light, a great message that descends upon, that comes down. Right, we have a great light, a great thing that descends down upon us. We have to be ready for this great message. We should be ready to receive and deliver a great message. So the third angel sounds. The third angel, right? And this number 3 is Gaimon or Gimon. Gimon meaning humility, right? We need to be humble in a time where stuff is all over the place and realize that, wait a minute, we need to receive something greater than ourselves, a great message. How you doing, Bruder Richard? Prayerfully, that makes sense, right? We need to receive in these times a great message. Hey, how you doing, Brother Ricky? Right? We got to receive a great message, something different, something that enlightens, something that's bigger than ourselves. How you doing, Sister Tabitha? Thank y'all for the love. Something that's bigger than ourselves. And thank you for being on all the different platforms. We appreciate you. And hopefully all is well. Prayerfully, we'll see you guys throughout the day for a whole bunch of stuff as we have planned as usual. Right? But there's a great light. There's a great light, right, that shows up, right? The great star, a great message from a great messenger. It says this great messenger fell from heaven, from Shemayim, burning as it were a lamp. How you doing, Brother Cole? Okay, I see you. All right, I'll try to see if maybe after the podcast, so 11, somewhere after 11-ish, I'll try to see if I can call and try to reach out to you somewhere after that. So this great lamp, and by the way, I'm probably gonna have to take a couple minutes. In a few minutes, I'm probably have to take a couple minutes. We might have to do a salah. Y'all take a break and come back with us. I got to make sure I take care of something real quick. If somebody doesn't mind reminding me, if somebody remind me maybe about, I don't know, 8:50 or 50, whatever time that is. I just need a couple minutes to make sure that I do something and be in order with my family real quick. How you doing, Takwa? And how you doing, Matthew? Thanks for being part of the community. If somebody doesn't mind reminding me in about 10 minutes to make sure that I take care of some business real quick. It'll only hopefully take a minute or two. And how you doing, Precept Me? So, and all these different things that are going on, right? We have a great message that needs to show up. Revelation chapter 8, verse 10. We need to humble ourselves, right? This is Shabbat Gaimon or Shofar Gimon. This is the third trumpet sounding from a third messenger giving us a message, and this message that we are supposed to be presented, that we're supposed to have announced, the trumpet that sounds, that we should pay attention to as Christ has now been revealed, the choir rolled back like a scroll in Revelation chapter 6, as Israel is being sealed in Revelation 7, and those grafted in are becoming part of the family in Revelation chapter 7, and now we're seeing things being revealed in Revelation chapter 8. There's a great message we got to pay attention to. And what is this message going to do? Well, it says, and there fell a great star from heaven, right, from Shemayim, and it burning as it were a lamp. It burns. Now watch this. It's not just that it illuminates as it were a lamp. It burns, right? We're talking about a lamp in the day, the fire. Remember that now from heaven, this is the second time, the first trumpet sounded, and there was fire that came down commingled, right? Commingled with blood, but it was hail and fire, and then there was blood mingled in that comes down to the water, right? Okay, then the second trumpet sounds, and it says we're dealing with all this stuff where the water itself is dealing with some issues, and persons are and persons are dying, and persons are going through things, and nations are not flowing where they're supposed to, and things are being shipped and all over the place, and it's causing death, and it's causing things to happen. Well, then this third trumpet sounds, and it says that there fell a great star in the midst of that. Don't fret, don't be frustrated, don't think that's the end of it. You said, is the state of Israel the same as the Bible? No, that's not the same as it's semi in the same place. Most of it's in the same place, but the people are not the same. Even if you go by the stuff today, you dealing with Sephardic. Even if you want to use the term Jew, Sephardic Jews are the ones who are actually the family, or at least closer to the family, if not actually the family. Ashkenazi, which is more European, and Japhetic of the children of Japheth, right? Because Israelites are Shemitic. So Ashkenazi are Japhetic. They'll tell you that themselves, right? If anything, they're converts for those who actually want to follow the word correctly, right? But they're not the original Israelites. Then you have Khazarians. They're more the Russians who are converts, and more than likely are the ones who, in Second Esdras, if you've read that book of the Bible, it's called Apocrypha, but that book of the Bible, and seen in Second Esdras chapter 13, verses 40 through 46, when those Israelites left looking for a place that nobody resided in to try and start their worship over, it's more than likely that before they went over to, I'm about to say the wrong place, is the Bering Strait? Yeah, the Bering Strait, before they went over there, or before they even left out of West Africa, they basically probably did a combination of both. But when they left, they actually went through Russia, and we have evidence that Russia became, not all of Russia, of course, but the eastern Russia that they would have gone through, they became converts for about 400 years. It was actually like a Russian, it was like a Jewish, if you will, Israelite state in Russia. So, and then from there, but the Sephardic are the ones, if you want to study the actual language and study the original and stuff like that, that's who you're dealing with. But that being said, so getting to, I'm sorry, where were we? Oh yeah, so it burns like a light, so the fire, right? Also remember that the prayers of the saints were in vials, and they were in incense, and then all of a sudden these vials that were carrying the incense, all of a sudden they start to burn, right? So even the prayers of saints that were even looking for vengeance. Vengeance is not ours, it is Yahweh's, but vengeance does come. He said, does it make prophecy difficult to understand? No, if we actually comprehend the origins of it, right? So if we comprehend the proper context of it, then we have no problem with it. If you're talking about now, if you're somebody who goes through a Jewish lens as far as what persons think are Jewish persons today, you have an issue that pops up, because if you don't know any better, you'll start confusing things. Like, for example, like for Memorial Day meetup this year, we're going to be going to Savannah, Georgia, to a church that was built by former slaves. Some of them were still slaves when they were building it. And when you look there, you'll see that they wrote Hebrew, and it wasn't because of Jewish persons teaching them. Or if matter of fact, we're going to do a watch party talking about this stuff later today on our original TikTok channel, Kofi_Ofori, without any numbers. So without number 2, without number 3. Just by itself, if you're able to join for that. If not, look up something on Tubi TV. I can't really talk about it much because I got to focus in on this for today, because I don't have as much time as I normally do. But I would invite you, if you can't do it with us, even on your own, on Tubi TV, tubi.tv. On Tubi TV, there's a series called Reclaiming the Throne. Reclaiming the Throne, and right from the jump, pretty much, it's going to start answering those questions that you have right off the bat, and it's going to give you not only biblical reference, it's going to give you historical reference. It's going to tell you what historian, whether they be white, black, otherwise, whether they be Jewish, whether they be a Jew, because there's a difference between the two, whether they be Ashkenazi, whether they be Sephardic, whether it be somebody who has no skin in the game, and they're going to tell you all those different things. So and if you go through, it's 3 hours per. There's like 3 hours per episode, 3 hours per episode, and there's 3 episodes. But even if you just start going through the first one, but I promise you, if you stick around to the third one, and it's going to give you the book references, you can buy the books for yourself, read those things, you're going to get to a place where you're like, all right, even if you haven't done hundreds upon hundreds of hours, what is it, Malcolm Gladwell said we got to have 10,000 hours before we're experts. Even if you ain't done that, you'll have enough in you where you'll be like, okay, I can definitely do that. And then after that, when we finish that watch party, we're going to go into something that the thing that caused the big thing with Kyrie Irving, H2N, you know, if you know the name of it. But it was, I can't say it still to this day because they'll try to take you down for just saying the name of the thing. But the thing Kyrie Irving got in trouble for is actually pretty much just talking about the same stuff, but it's more advanced. So I always tell persons, if you have a choice, go to Reclaiming the Throne first. And then after that, this thing called, I'll say it one time, it's called Hebrews to Negroes, right? Watch Reclaiming the Throne first, then do this up, because you'll learn the basics in one. And there's a book he did along with the H2N as well. There's a book that goes with it. I don't know which one came first, but there's a book that he has as well for the H2N. But it's you get to a place where, all right, like, I can't deny that this is truth, not just only from a biblical perspective or a person want to say mythological perspective. I don't know. This is actual, like, literal, historically, or even historically accurate, right? Okay, so Revelation chapter 8, verse 10. Revelation chapter 8, verse 10. It says, and the third angel, and the third trumpet sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. It is so extremely important that we catch what's going on here in the third day, in the third trumpet sound, excuse me. When we deal with this thing, this herb called wormwood, right? I believe the Greeks call it aspinos or aspinthos, absinthos, right? Absinthos, right? Or absinthos, excuse me. I'm saying absinthe, sorry. Absinthos. The Greeks called it absinthos, right? But we know it today as wormwood, or many of us would know it as wormwood, all right? This herb wormwood is extremely important because it cleanses the blood, but it cleanses parasites. It can also cleanse and make water extremely bitter. This is extremely important to catch because remember, the first trumpet, there was blood and fire and hail and everything, but blood mingles with the water, right? The second trumpet, we see that there's persons dying in the water, right? And so what happens now, there's a third trumpet, the third sound, and the messengers, there's a great messenger, there's a great message that must be sent to make sure that the water receives wormwood. Right, did you catch that? I'm going to say it one more again just to make sure we're all on the same page. But did you catch the order of that? See, persons just be thinking this stuff is random. Once again, that's why we have to have cultural context, right, and connectivity to this word. There's the blood and water mixed together. Because of that, persons are beginning to die and things are being shipped all around the place and we're having weird stuff going on. So now there has to be, in the humility phase, right, of these messages, there has to be, or of these announcements, we need to realize that we need a great message that's going to be coming down like wormwood. All right? Wormwood is going to cleanse the water and it's going to cleanse the blood. Break reminder. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's make that salah. So wormwood's going to cleanse the water, cleanse the blood. Give me hopefully no more than 1 or 2 minutes. Need to take care of something important, very important, and then I will be right back in front of you. Thank you for the reminders. All right, so I'll be right back in front of you. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, if you come back at 8:52, 8:53. Cool. If you come back about 8:55, I won't be mad at you, but we might be back into the word by then. All right. So thank you for being on. I promise you I'll be right back. Just give me a second, take care of some things, and I shall return. Thank you all. Had to make sure I did that. Had to make sure I did that. All right, all right. Didn't take me long, but need to make sure we were in order. We can take care of everything else. We don't take care of our family sometimes. All praises. All right. So, where were we at? Where were we at? Wormwood. So the wormwood is necessary because it's going to cleanse the water and it's going to cleanse the blood. Oh, I forgot to pause the podcast. Oh, sorry about that. Y'all will go through a minute, 2 minute break. I forgot to pause it. So y'all will just have to fast forward if you listen to this on the podcast later. so the wormwood, the wormwood is extremely important. It's extremely important that we catch what's going on there because the wormwood cleanses. Matter of fact, I've been showing you guys. You guys have seen me even. I used to just take it off screen, but y'all know I be putting stuff on in front of y'all. Ain't no shame in my game, whatever. So it is what it is, right? But so the wormwood, if you look, so this is black walnut and wormwood complex, but it's for cleansing, right? It's for cleansing, and I basically have almost finished this up. I'm supposed to finish this up. Once you finish it up, you finish your cleansing. But it's something that's there. It's it helps with different things as far as like just cleansing the body outright, cleansing your blood. You have to be careful even if you have like certain issues if you're not strong enough to take it. Now this is obviously black walnut and wormwood, so a little stronger. Wormwood is very bitter, very very bitter. When put with other things, it can even burn a little bit. And it tells us that in Revelation chapter 8, verses 10 through 11, it tells us that this wormwood is so strong that a lot of persons who are in these nations in the water, they will not survive. But it doesn't say all. See, it said when the water was mixed with the blood and the stuff was coming down in the second trumpet, it tells us that everybody in that third part, nobody survived. But then it tells us, once again, separation, that there are some that will not make it in the waters where the wormwood affects. And it tells us it's not just waters in general. It gives us specific waters. It tells us that this wormwood goes into a third part of the waters, right? And these third part of the waters are a third part of rivers and upon fountains of waters. Upon fountains of waters. Now, fountains of waters are talking about springs. See? Springs. And when we're talking about rivers are different than what? Than the seas. Seas in the Bible, a lot of times it's even talking about the ocean. Right? So this is something that's different. You said what brand? Well, this brand right here, my wife is usually I take 100% of her stuff, but she gave me this one. My wife's stuff is Bloom and Flourish, BLOOM, Bloom, the letter N, and then Flourish, FLOURISH. If you need more information on the stuff, by the way, you can look up through our link tree on the main site. Just text us or email, and somebody get back to you. This one right here, which is probably more expensive than her stuff, but this one right here is Now, N-O-W. Right? Just tell the truth. But she has stuff that she does that is more than likely, especially if you're somebody who's part of the SOC family. But even if not, if you're somebody who finds she does stuff to make sure that we can have some affordability. It's not going to be free, but it's going to be affordable. But yeah, so... But outside of that, I really don't know. My wife is a herbalist, so I just kind of do what she tells me. I roll. She's my teacher, so she's a great herbalist. Does a lot of great work. I've seen her do stuff that heals babies and stuff like that. Has healed asthma. Matter of fact, those of you who were, I won't mention their names, but those of you who were with us at Feast of Tabernacles and saw the two babies that were running around, the cousins, and some of you were there for their. For one of them, I did one of them. I did their baby dedication. The other one, some of you just were present at their baby dedication down south. They had extreme problems with a whole bunch of health issues, including asthma and some other things. And her herbs helped them with that. So she's a herbalist extraordinaire. Does a lot of stuff. Been doing it for years. Starting to increase in it again. We've been going through a lot of attacks the last couple of years. So kind of things went a little slower, but she's still here. She's still doing her work. I'm on. But yeah. So that being said, though, so the wormwood, and is it I am remarkable? Okay, how you doing? Welcome. Thanks for being part of the community. So, but yeah, so the wormwood. I'm getting into advertisement now. The wormwood. The wormwood. My bad, y'all. The wormwood. I'm always proud of my wife. I'm always gonna support my wife. It is what it is. The wormwood. The wormwood is something that's important there, and we miss it. How you doing, Sister Michelle? Shabbat shalom to everybody coming in. It's something that we miss. We don't even think about because we don't even think about that context culturally. We don't take time out to be like, hey, this wormwood. Hey, this is something that is supposed to cleanse, which means that we're supposed to get a word that's going to be bitter to many. Right? Matter of fact, when we go on, we're not there in the series yet. When we get to Revelation chapter 10, you're gonna see that there's a book, there's a scroll that's gonna be given by a messenger, a huge angel, right? That mirrors somewhat what Christ, what's looking like over Christ with the bow and the cloud and all that stuff that's over him, that's emerald. And you'll see that he has one hand that reaches up to the heavens, and then one hand that he has, down, and in that hand is a scroll, right? In that hand is a scroll, and it says that when and John was commanded to eat the whole scroll, and when he ate it, it tells you that it was like honey, which has a certain healing effect. It was like honey to the taste, right? It was sweet like honey to the taste, but then when it hit his stomach, it said it became a bitter. It began to cleanse. It began to do what bitters do. When a bitter hits the stomach, it moves different, right? Right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna look up something real quick. Let's look up the effects of bitters in your stomach, right? So this is what a bitter does. This is what this wormwood is supposed to represent. This is the symbolization, this message that should come down during this season is supposed to be a message that starts to cleanse, and some will die because not everybody can handle the message. Not everybody's trying to live a bitter existence and by the way, bitter does not mean disgusting. Bitter is talking about the taste, and it's talking about an effect that it has on you, right? Like, just because something is, like, for example, I'm somebody who likes straight up chocolate. I'm not talking about chocolate, and I'm not saying I don't eat sweet chocolate, but I'm talking about, I'm one of those persons when you see those bars of chocolate and they start being like 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. I like that stuff, right? I really do. Some don't. Or it's just like spicy food. If I go somewhere, I don't like I don't like hot food just for the sake of being hot. I like spicy food. But I can eat spicy food that is extremely hot, right? But there's a difference, right? Somebody will say, I like spicy, but they mean they want to have a competition to see if all their tongue particles don't fall off. No, I like spicy because certain spices, even when they're hot, they're doing something to my body, not just making me sweat, but they're doing other things health-wise, and I like the effect of it. How you doing, Sister Shima? How you doing, Empress? Right? So, but same kind of thing, like when we talk about bitter, persons believe, some of them just go, oh, bitter means disgusting. No. Bitter is a taste. And just like we should have different tastes, and we should have the ability to be able to taste different things, some of the things you need to have should be bitter. How you doing, Opal? Thanks for being on. Opal. Thanks for being on. Some of these things should be bitter, right? To the taste. There's some things that you need that will be bitter. There's some things that need to be preached that are bitter. Yeah, and dark chocolate is great for your health, right? But it's a bitter. Persons don't, like, it was started off, even when it was found, it was always a bitter. And then somebody said, oh, you know what? What if we put some sugar with it, and now you have chocolate the way you think of it today? But chocolate within itself is actually quite bitter, right? And it's designed to be so, right, by the Most High. Now watch this. So bitters stimulate taste receptors. I want you to catch it. See, the bitter, the wormwood, has to be put into the fountain. It has to be put into the rivers. And there are persons that are there. It's not just going to everybody. Like this word is not for everybody. This is a word that will cause, see, watch this. If I put bitter into your system, into your blood right now, it will cause some of your your body to heal. But guess what? If it's healing parts of your body, it's also offing things in your body that should not be there or that need to be regenerated anyways. So when you receive a bitter word, right? There used to be a saying, that's a bitter pill to swallow, right? You ever heard that, right? But you need to take that pill. It's gonna help you. I say, right? It's going to help you. It's going to help you. It's going to hurt a little bit, but it's going to help you ultimately. You need that bitter in your life. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Now watch this. Here's bitters and what they do inside your body. So the bitter, the wormwood, when it's coming through, this is what's about to happen when you receive a word that cleanses. Not just a word for word's sake. And even like I said, when you believe in the Bible, it doesn't say you believe in the Bible, you don't want to receive the bitter. This is why it's hard, it's tough, because you don't want to receive the bitter. Look, if you're going to read the Bible, you have to listen to the person that says, hey, person started enslaving persons because of the Bible. It's true. It's because they manipulated it. It's because we don't want to acknowledge who the Negro is. Right? As a nation, it's because we don't want to talk about Flavius Josephus. It's because we don't want to talk about what Christ really looked like. Somebody brought that up already. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the truth. And if you're going to live by what it's actually supposed to be and get some of the misogyny out and get some of the wild, decrepit, disgusting stuff out that persons have put in and changed up, literally, persons don't read enough versions of the Bible. They only read versions in English and have not even gone back to see what was the origins of it before somebody changed stuff up. And how did these persons actually live? And when Christ says to his mother, woman, you have to realize that he's not even using the term woman. And even if you're talking about English way, he's not saying, man, woman, I'm not black. No, he's saying woman, because woman for us, whenever you address a woman as woman, it is a term of endearment, right? But we have had so much stuff where nobody wants to go back and take time out to allow the wormwood, the message that will come through. That's like a lamp. It's like fire. That's going to be that hits the water, and it's hitting only certain waters. It's not designed to go to everybody else. But even if you talk about the Ethiopian Bible, you got to be careful with that. I say all the time, all these versions of versions, and including the Ethiopian Bible, even in Kush, right? There's some stuff that happened that you have to know historically, to where you still have to look at some changes that might have been made. But also, even with that, a lot of what we call Ethiopian Bible is not written by Ethiopians. So, or at least put it like this, they're not the ones that are putting it out, which always makes you have to do some research. I always just say study. Somebody will say, what version of the Bible should you read, blah, blah. I always say, hey, make sure you learn the origin. If you learn the origin of things, that's why it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. That word principality means original things. We are arguing and stuff with each other usually has nothing to do with the origins of the word. If we learn the origins, then it gets rid of a lot of the argument. How you doing, Brother Thomas? I see you coming in. Right, but back to this real quick, right? Yeah, because there you go. When you know the signature, you're looking for certain things that should pop up every single time, right? So, but anyway, in this, just real quick, because I got to focus. I don't have as much time as I normally would. So to get through it just real quick. So bitters, they stimulate taste receptors. They do what? They stimulate taste receptors. So if you're going to taste something and you want to taste things better, right, you should use bitters. I know some of you may have done wine testing and stuff before, whatever, but if you really want to taste the real effect of something, have some bitters and let your palate be cleared for a little bit, and then you'll be able to taste in a manner that you've never tasted before. Right? So and the word says, taste and see that Yehovah's Tabah. How is it that if you don't cleanse your palate, how can you really taste what Yah is doing purely? If you're always mixing and matching stuff and you eating all the different stuff and you never take time out to cleanse your palate, can you really taste the way that you're supposed to? You see? Right? If you've been eating, this happens with children and stuff, it happens with us adults all the time. You've been eating fast food. You got to take some time out to cleanse your palate. You might need to fast, for a couple of weeks just to let your tongue have time to be new. Same thing in the spirit. You're eating everything. Like, look, and I'm not mad at it or whatever, but I'm just telling the truth. as somebody who's had a chance to travel some and been able to sit down with different nations, you know, you might call them tribes. Tribe is not a great word to use, but that being said, to travel, to sit down in front of chieftains, to be able to speak to persons, to try and learn a little bit about different languages, cultures, and language as well, right? So that's why it's important that we get the language together. For man should not live by bread alone, by every word. So we should know the Ava, the original language of all creation, things of that nature. But even outside of that, like learning different things, different tongues, etc. When you learn these things, right, and you go to them, here's one of the things that many persons have never really done. If you study a culture, you have to study the culture from within the culture. This is why a lot of persons have never, I say this all the time, a lot of persons have never read the Bible because part of reading is reading comprehension. How do you comprehend a culture that you've never studied from within? How do you study the kingdom, but your whole life you know more about, you know more about, at least so you think, you know more about capitalism than you do about kingdom. Persons are saying they want to become sovereign, but how do you not realize that part of sovereign is sovereign? And you must be under somebody who reigns, because the only way you can reign is that somebody who reigns gives you authority to reign. So how are you going to be a state citizen or a sovereign and you haven't put yourself in a position privately to reign? So all these brothers and sisters out here talking about they kings and they this and they that, right? They queens and they this and they that. Y'all know how I feel about that word, but here's what it is, right? That's what you hear all the time. And yet, you're not in a position to reign. You're not in a position, the world puts us in a position where we don't teach our own babies. And we think that that's a positive thing. Come on, somebody, right? This is Four Horsemen stuff. They have used fake versions of the word, second horseman, so much that we have fought against each other that now we're in the third horseman situation where we can't even figure out how to buy stuff and how to get stuff for our own and how to grow things for our own and how to teach our own children, how to have our own businesses, how to make sure our dollar stretches. And if it's got to stretch, let it stretch. You used to make $1 out of 15 cents. Why is it so difficult to say, hey, we'll make sure that we make this stretch in our community? We're going to be a living sacrifice. They know they got us. If you had to wait 2 days for a meal because it comes from somebody in your community, you say, no, I don't need to go to the store and get it now. Learn how to fast for 2 days. And get it from yourself. Learn how to grow stuff. It's about to be our new year, starting on March the 18th. Right? The last frost is going to be over. Take time out to learn how to do these things righteously. Like, what are we doing? That's right. The school system ain't going to teach these babies how to make sure that they do mathematics correctly. Yes, they will. No, they're not. The school system's not turning out a whole bunch of persons that are reading at great levels. Show me where. The West is not worried about making sure that the Negro is put in proper position to do anything outside of be a consumer. When you going to produce? What are you going to produce? You say you just fasted 2 days? Yeah. By the way, fasting for 36 hours, doing that once a week will change your life. Literally, would change some of your lives. Because your body will have to respond to the fact that you're not shoving food in it for the first time and have to cleanse itself. Yeah, the school system is designed to, create robots. Really, it's designed for your child to be a cog in the wheel. And yet you keep saying, and we've even been taught to have a whole bunch of pride in our children being a cog in the wheel. And I'm not trying to speak ill of you. I'm not trying to look, like, once again, wormwood is bitter. Sometimes you got to have a bitter taste. This is the kind of word we're supposed to receive. You see, it's not just throwing this stuff out randomly. It stimulates your taste receptors. It triggers a reflex that increases saliva. What does saliva do? See, these are things that you think are disgusting until you get older and you start realizing you're having a problem when you try to open your mouth and you got cotton mouth in some of your mouths, it takes 15 hours to open up. That's right, saliva breaks down your food. Saliva also helps to increase lubrication in your mouth. Saliva allows your tongue to move better, right? And if it's proper saliva, right? Saliva helps to protect your teeth. Saliva digests the food before you even start to chew. Saliva takes in the chewed food and breaks it down even more. Saliva then makes sure that, because guess what? When you're swallowing the food, what else are you swallowing? You're swallowing saliva, right? It helps with the digestion process. But if you can't create something you can't digest, see, in your digestive system, there's a whole bunch of issues. And we could talk about the digestive system. We could talk about the pancreas and how it's necessary. We could talk about how a lot of men and women think that the reason why you're having problems and you're using the bathroom 15 times a day, and you, right, it's purely because of diabetes and stuff. And there's a lot of that too. But persons don't even realize like what's going on with your pancreas and stuff. But some of that even has to do with saliva issues. One affects the other. That's right, the ear, the nose, all that stuff. So we have to recognize. But see, in the spirit, if you need to have some wormwood because you need something that triggers a reflex in you that allows you to be able to break down what you're receiving. You see that? That's why it talks about wormwood. You need something that triggers in you something that breaks down what you're receiving. We have persons that are triggered by the word, but never are triggered to break it down. They can't wait to go to church tomorrow, but they can't break it down. This is why you have Second Timothy chapter 3, where it says that there will be persons who are ever learning. This is what the world wants you to be. This is what it even tells you that magicians who show up as pastors and preachers to you and I today, it tells you that we're supposed to be aware of these persons. It says they will show up in front of you and they will give you stuff and you will ever be learning, but never come into the knowledge of truth. Salah. Put it like this. You'll be ever learning. Ever learning. You'll be ever learning, but never coming into the knowledge of truth. Whole bunch of persons can tell you all this stuff. Can tell you Michael Jordan scored 63 in the playoffs and high, scored 69 in the regular season, and that Kobe Bryant scored 81, and that his last game he scored 60, and that Wilt Chamberlain was able to get quintuple doubles that we can't actually substantiate, but we know they happened, or that he scored 100 points in the game, and we have a radio broadcast of it, but he was just basically, at that point, him and his teammates were basically just, stat padding, but he got up to 100, and so should we declare it as something that's great or not? Or, right, all this that you can tell, hey, Barry Bonds, he was an all-star, or he was a Hall of Famer before he even took anything with Valco and all that stuff. Or, hey, Babe Ruth, he was actually black, or this person, that. And all that stuff sounds great until we realize that you've ever learned, and yet, what have you done with it? How has that helped? 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 7, thank you. Right, how has that helped? How has that helped you? How has it helped you? Kevin Durant has now made it to a whole other level. Boy, he gave $10 million to PG County. What did they do with that? And by the way, he's making more money, right, off of drones that are being used to destroy folk in war right now. How is that helping you? What is he giving to you? Sisters, what has he built for you? Did they know you was the question? Right. I'm just saying, these persons, and by the way, they're gladiators. Gladiators try to get free and live and own gladiators themselves. Not just in modern times, not just Michael Jordan, not just Alice Rodriguez, not just Derek Jeter, not just Magic Johnson. You want to continue to go through the list? These persons are using what they got from you to ensure that they use it to improve others, and then they turn around, Kevin Hart, right, Dave Chappelle, and they turn around and then they get you to cheer for them because they say, hey, I'm bettering myself. And Dave Chappelle straight up told you. Now, I think Dave Chappelle gets a little too much on this, but he does some of it where, hey, he'll tell you straight up, they can't call what I'm doing gentrification. but I'm gentrifying. Meanwhile, he's doing some really shady stuff. How many women Kevin Hart got to go through before we start saying like, stop? Just say that you're here to entertain us. You hear what I'm saying? What else does wormwood do? Wormwood reduces bloat. I'm sorry, went too far. It helps with digestive enzymes. Do you know that one of the reasons why you have issues, everybody has issues, because everybody has magnesium deficiency, especially in the United States corporation. A lot of the problems that we have is because everybody has problems with magnesium. Magnesium helps you to digest because you don't just eat with your stomach. You don't just eat with your mouth. You don't just digest in your digestive system only. You eat with your whole body, and your body has something like, what is it, 360 something digestive enzymes. Magnesium is what's used for all of it. See, the way that melanin works in our bodies is the same way that chlorophyll works in the plants. The reason why plants, now they're designed to be different than us, obviously, right? But there's a lot of similarities. The reason why plants do what they do, as far as in the wintertime or in the fall, they begin to lose their leaves, and their leaves start to turn colors, which is beautiful. But it also is a response to the fact that the tree is making less magnesium. So the less magnesium there is, then the less chlorophyll can be digested. So if you see a tree that's brown, you're seeing a tree that has no magnesium or is losing it. When you see a tree that loses all its leaves, it loses magnesium. The evergreen tree has the ability to keep magnesium. Right? The evergreen tree has the ability to keep magnesium. And so it can do things that the others cannot do, right? Well, a lot of us, when we have a magnesium deficiency, you're having problems digesting all over your body, right? That's why you're having a lot of issues that you're having. You're having issues digesting all over the body. So now this is why some of you drink. So now some of the water is trash too, but this is why some of you can drink water, and you still are like, man, I'm thirsty all the time. Yeah, you don't have magnesium. This is how some of you are eating things that are supposed to be helping you, and it's taking a really long time to kick in. You're like, man, yeah, you know what? You first need to have magnesium. Even some of the stuff that you're eating lacks magnesium. Anything that's green is supposed to have a bunch of magnesium, but they don't grow food correctly, which means the less, crops are rotated and things of that nature. But then guess what? The less magnesium you have. You were about to say the pine tree? Mm-hmm. Yeah, an evergreen tree. So the same way that you need magnesium to even start to digest, right? And you might therefore need some bitters to help to reset that, so you can even receive the magnesium, so that you can even receive the things that help your melanin. The same way, you need digestive enzymes. By the way, this is for spiritual purposes, teaching purposes only. Right? I'm not speaking as a doctor. I have to say that legally. But so you need that. What else do bitters do? Bitters help us as far as gastric acid. A lot of us don't have the gastric acid to even break down what we need to break down. Right? Now, this is the part for your stomach. Or not even your stomach, really your mesentery. But this is some of the stuff that finally, when we talk about the stuff, what does it do when it hits your stomach? We talked about it was sweet to the taste, but bitter to the stomach. He's talking about the effects of the bitter to the stomach. What is it that the bitters do in your stomach? He's saying it helps to improve digestion, and it reduces bloating. I still have a little, well, I don't want to get into all my symptoms of everything, but I'll be honest, I have a little bit of bloating issues. Sometimes when y'all be like, man, Pastor, you looking fine. I'm still dealing with stuff where I did so much damage to my body that I'm finally starting to get rid of bloating, right? And some of y'all know about that when you use the restroom, we'll just say it nicely, or even when you do certain things, doesn't have to just be when you use the restroom, but you notice your body all of a sudden, and you're like, what happened? And you would think, I just used the restroom, blah, blah. Well, some of that stuff is dealing with what? The fact that you have to improve your digestion. And we did so much damage to it over the years that it might take a little while for it to kick in, right? Including some of it, yeah, some of it is fat. Some of it is visceral fat being the fat that's around the organs, things of that nature. But but we're gonna have to do some things because we've had years of attacking our digestive system. Yeah, cortisol and stress and those things can happen as well, right? So there are things that are happening. So you remember, if one area of the body is stressed, all areas of the body are stressed, right? So that's how it works. That's why you have something called referred pain. You can have pain in your back, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I thought I had pain in my neck. Well, the pain in my neck is connected to my is connected to my shoulder blade. My shoulder blade is connected to connected muscularly down here to the back. So I'm having pain in my back. It's really pain in my neck, but it's pain in my neck. It's affecting the pain in my back. And if I'm not careful, it'll start messing around in my hands, right? So I got to start doing some of this to make sure that this pressure point over here actually starts to like mess with this pressure point over here, that then if I move this, right, but it's all connected, right? Just like the body, we are supposed to be a body jointly fit together. And if one thing's getting in here that's messing with the body, if we're eating the wrong type of thing over and over again, not just physically but spiritually, it affects the whole body, even physically, because a lot of the stuff that we blame on the Most High and say, why do you allow this and why do you allow that? Have you ever considered that your parents, probably, those who are parenting, having children, stuff like that, we're not doing things we're supposed to do correctly, and we're causing our children. We'll call it. We'll just say, oh yeah, everybody in my family, nobody made it past age 50 something, but I'm hoping that I make it there, not realizing that sometimes. Now look, I'm not here to tell you I know all this stuff, but I'm here to tell you that sometimes you might want to eat differently than your parents. See what happens. Sometimes you might want to exercise in the manner that your parents did not. Sometimes you might want to reduce stress rather than being more stressed like your parents did not. See what happens. There might be some changes. You said we grew up, what we grew up eating, we really can't anymore. Yeah, and that's something too that we notice, right? If look, man, shoot, you might have been in the house where you had syrup sandwiches, ketchup sandwiches. You had rice with ketchup on it, rice with cheese on it. You was becoming the oodles and noodles chef extraordinaire, right? I don't even know if some of y'all know about oodles and noodles. You don't know about the ramen packages, right? But you had all that stuff. Some jelly on waffle. Like that, hey, whatever you had to do, you was doing whatever. Bologna sandwiches. Some of y'all was eating it raw at the pack. Some of y'all was putting it in the oven. Some of y'all was putting it on the stove top. Still nasty for your body either way. I ain't doing LCP. I don't think I said shalom to you earlier. Please forgive me. Shabbat shalom to everybody on. Right? But those things we were eating. Oh, try to eat that stuff today. Try to eat that stuff today. See what happened to you. I will lose my look. If I try to have sweet tea from McDonald's, my face will try to fall off. I'm not even. I'm not even joking. Try not the ramen. You can still do a little something with that, but don't put the seasoning in it that comes with it. You gotta really cook some other stuff to go with it. But but even that's poor man's ramen, right? If you go to a restaurant and you see that, you need to leave that restaurant immediately, right? But if I have a sweet tea from McDonald's, I'm not even joking on this part. I will literally go blind. I cannot have sweet tea. I learned this like 7-8 years ago, maybe even earlier than that. We stopped through somewhere. I was like, you know what? I ain't had I don't really eat McDonald's. I'm like, let me, I've had a sweet tea, whatever. Let me have. I could not see. I was scared. I could not see for like about. I'm not. It felt like an eternity. But I'd only been like 10, 15 seconds. And this is how crazy it is with the addiction. You know what I did? I was like, no, this can't be real. Sipped it again. Dummy. I'm talking about me. Dummy. Right? Sipped it again. And went blind again. Can't have it. Can't have it. Can't do it. If it's gonna make me go blind. Now look, it could have been at McDonald's where they put all the syrup and just dump the stuff in the bottom and they don't stir it up and maybe I got just a cocktail. I ain't gonna try again though. I did once. But I ain't gonna try again. I ain't gonna try again. But I'm just saying, the stuff that we were having, now think about that. You should be able to eat what you started eating when you were a baby. If it's real food, you should be able to eat, right? Obviously, there's health conditions, maybe stuff happens with your teeth, blah, blah, whatever. But you should be able to eat, if you could eat carrots when you were 3, 4, you should be able to eat carrots now, right? If you could eat apples, you should be able to eat apples now. Ain't no way that if it's real food, I should be able to eat chicken nuggets. And now all of a sudden I can't have chicken nuggets. I should be able to have sweet tea. Now I can't have sweet tea. Yeah, those things are not real. But once again, we're eating something, we're digesting, we're allowing this stuff to come in, and we need some bitter. Now think in the spirit, once again. How you doing, Lex? Think in the spirit. And thanks for being part of the community. You said as children you were only allowed to eat like once or twice a month. Yeah. Now think in the spirit. How much stuff has came into the assembly, into the body of believers, into the kingdom of heaven that's supposed to be on earth? Hmm? Think now. Think in the spirit. How much trash? I know we don't want to hear this, but it's real. How much trash is real? Hmm? How much trash is up there? Think about all these wild sermons that are out here nowadays, telling you that it's okay to do all the things that the Bible tells you it's not. And we talked about this as a positive, but we were talking about a different context. But we were talking about McDonald's and why McDonald's is around is because they're consistent. If you go to McDonald's here, if you go to McDonald's there, if you go to McDonald's there, they're all the same. It's consistent, right? Well, you've got consistent. You have had so much consistent garbage, right? Persons don't eat at McDonald's because it's the best food. Like it's the best tasting food. It can taste well as far as like, yeah, they have a formula that hits your endorphins and makes you have sugar highs and sugar rushes and all that, right? But the reason why you go to McDonald's is because it's consistent. It's always going to taste the same no matter what. And we've gotten a lot of garbage, but it's tasted the same no matter what. Right? We got a lot of garbage. And it's tasted the same no matter what. Mm-hmm. I know we don't like to talk about it like that. It seems like we're being mean, but let's be honest. If we keep eating the garbage, see, this is watch this. This is why you got into an age to where you can't eat that stuff anymore. If you continue to eat it, it's doing something to your spirit. Oh, come on, Holy Spirit, have your way in this place. I know somebody don't want to hear it. It's doing something in your spirit. You can't eat the garbage anymore. You've had to leave it alone. You can't eat the garbage anymore. You've had to leave it alone. You had to say enough is enough. You had to say I can't handle this. If I eat this stuff, if I drink this spiritual iced tea, I'm gonna go blind. I tried it again just to make sure because it hurt my heart. I hadn't ate this garbage in a while, and then I got some and it messed me up. I took a little bit more. I shouldn't have even taken a little bit more. I realized I can't eat that anymore. Mess around and eat some bacon now and see what happens to your body. You'll be shocked. Matter of fact, it'll smell putrid. I'm just trying to help somebody today. You got we have to recognize we've been eating trash. And so we need bitter. We need the wormwood. We need a message. We need messengers who bring light to this stuff. We're not supposed to just be receiving the same old, and just going like amen no matter what, as if like whatever anybody says is okay. No, no, no. Like we get into a place where we got to have honest dialogue. You need, according to Revelation chapter 8, verses 10 and 11, you need some wormwood. You need some bitter. You need a bitter message. The trumpet has sounded. The third trumpet has sounded, right? And you're starting to get a bitter message. And so is the world, but not everybody's going to be able to survive it. See, this is the part that we got to realize now. See, if you have parts of your body that are not right, then there are parts of your body that can't handle the wormwood, right? You go to the doctor, right? You go to the doctor, and and some of the medicines and medications and some of the pills y'all be buying and all this stuff or whatever. Doctors would, it says right there, first of all, can your heart take this? It's not that we don't want this to be able, but to be honest, look, before we even give this to you, is your heart, uh-oh, Holy Spirit, come on in. Holy Spirit, can your heart handle what you asking for? Mm. Can your heart handle what you asking for? Are you ready to receive? Yeah, I'm going to do this. I want to do that. Okay, what I'm going to have to give you is bitter, but have you prepared yourself? We talked about this last night. We're removing leaven from our homes. We're removing the leaven and we're preparing ourselves to go through starting Passover, and then for 7 more days after that, during the Feast of Unleavened, where we're getting ready to have a position that we take to where we should not have anything that has leaven in it. So we're spending 40 days preparing ourselves for 8. Think about that. We're spending 40 days preparing our homes, preparing our bodies, preparing our lifestyle. And how you doing, Vegas? Excuse me for not saying shalom earlier. We have 40 days. Really, what did we say yesterday? We got 5 and 5, 5 weeks and 5 days. Today's is 5 and 4. You got 5 weeks, 4 days. At least when the moon comes up. That'll be the beginning of the second day, right? So we still got 5 and 5, right? You have 5 weeks and 5 days to get that thing in order, but you're using 5 weeks and 5 days for 8 days. You're using 40 for 8. What's the math on that? We're using 4 out of 25, 4/25ths, whatever that is. 16%. Oh, no, hold on. Yeah, 16%, 4/25ths. For 16% of the time, right, of what we're doing, we're going to use 100% of the time we have now to get ourselves prepared. AV character was hit protection. Might be something there. You know, numerology runs deep, right? But we're preparing ourselves now. See, are you preparing yourself? Because see, the bitter must come. The bitter word must come. And if you haven't been preparing and eating the word righteously and eating the word that is eating the word that is unleavened, right? And you only eat leavened word. You only eat word that's full of sin. You only eat word that's fluffy and easy for your palate, at least so you say, right? Well, if you only eat that word when the bitter shows up, you'll think that it's disgusting. See, many children, matter of fact, have you ever noticed that even though a child will go like this when they eat a bitter, they go right back to eating it again and again and again if it's their first experience. You ever had your child when they were a baby, some of us might have done something like this where, we gave them like lemon or lime when they were little and they would just eat it. They got to a place where they started eating it. Somebody had to give them extremely sweet stuff and then start giving them stuff that was not just sweet, but was this chemicalized sugar that started giving them sugar headaches, and they started becoming addicts like we did, but even more so now they become addicts when they're little babies, when they're toddlers. But when we were young, we might give them celery, let them suck on celery, let them suck on a carrot, let them have, something where their brain registers the stuff is natural. The bitter is a natural thing to have. It's a part of your diet. You should be able to have some sweet, some bitter, some tame. You should be able to have some things that taste medicinal, more medicinal, if you will, than others. These are things that should just be there. You should be able to have, something that can accept all these different things. But, right, Brussels sprouts wasn't a thing until you started having some of those sugar things. Broccoli wasn't a thing. It wasn't a hard thing to get you to eat until all of a sudden you had McDonald's for the first time. Right? Getting your child to watch positive edutainment, if you will, wasn't that difficult until all of a sudden your child was introduced to brain rot. You said you still battling sweets. Me too. I keep telling you, soda is my vice. That's why I be making sure, and even with the sparkling stuff, I've been doing a lot better recently, making sure I have a lot more lemon and lime. But these are things that were there. They were handed to us, right? And the same thing is being done today, where we as the children of Yah, and even those that are coming in fresh off the streets, those that are coming in fresh out of other cultures, those that are being grafted in, those that are young, those that are elders even, that are coming in and being grafted in. We have a lot of stuff, and you need a bitter word. I know, and this is the problem, because the same Second Timothy chapter 3 we talked about in Second Timothy chapter 4, the next chapter, we forget that persons have heaped up pastors and preachers for themselves. It doesn't say that these pastors and preachers or whatever. It says that we have heaped up pastors and preachers for ourselves. From milk to bitters. What's the name of that book? From ninjas to gods? Something like that. I don't know if that was the reference, but that just popped in my head. I said ninja, by the way. All right, sorry, let me get serious. So, I'm serious, right? It's okay for us to have fun and be in the kingdom. For me, it's a lot of fun being in the kingdom. That being said, let's get so I want you to recognize, I want you to see this, and you might not catch it. It might be something that's difficult for you. Persons might try to make you, persons might try to make us out to be different, but we are designed, our bodies are designed not just only for the sweet. Our bodies are not designed not only for the things that, are the pitta or the kapha, or those of you who know those terms. If you took herbalism, with herbalism 1 and 2 with Elder Amma, it's we're designed to have an array of different things on the plate, but they should all be real. They should all be healthy. They should all be what the Most High has created. It's the same thing in the spirit, and it's time for us to stop pretending that persons are not spiritually bankrupt and are trying to lead us. You still got your notes, praise Yah, right? We got to forget, we got to stop acting like persons are not spiritually bankrupt, morally bankrupt. If you're spiritually, by the way, if you're morally bankrupt, you're spiritually bankrupt, as far as the kingdom is concerned, right? You can take a peso over to Pakistan all you want, but if it's not rupees, they ain't using it, right? And shalom, Sister Deborah. If I didn't say so already, please forgive me, big sis, if I didn't say so already. But you got to be. We're dealing with persons that are morally bankrupt, upset and frustrated with persons that are morally bankrupt, and then, right, and then somehow, some way, we're surprised when persons who are morally bankrupt do immoral things. Maybe you should stop being so surprised. I'm just saying. We live in the last days, right? I asked this question earlier. Are you prepared for the mountain to fall, or is your whole life based upon the mountain? Because the mountain must fall, guaranteed, has to happen. No other way it's going to happen. No other way it's going to happen. It must fall. Salah. Once again, the mountain, it must fall. It is written. It shall come to pass. Come on. It is written. The mountain must fall. Are you prepared for the fall? If your whole life is based in the mountain, when the mountain falls, it's going to be problems. Not because you're a bad person, no, but because you're unprepared. What's the saying? Those who fail to plan to fail. That ain't got nothing to do with you being a bad person. You planned. You're planning your failure when everything's connected to what must fall. This is why, watch this. When I don't know how far we want to go back. Let's go back to Reagan. When Reagan, which really you got to do the Reagan administration goes through Bush, right? But when Reagan fell, right, Clinton came up. And when Clinton fell, Bush came up. And when Bush fell, Obama came up. And when Obama fell, Trump came up. And then Trump fell, and Biden came up. And when Biden / Harris fell, Trump came back. And when Trump falls again, it's the same mountain that's slowly falling, but as it keeps leaning, right? I think I said this yesterday. One of the worst things you can be if you live in a tree, one of the worst, or if you're in a tree at any place, way, shape, or form, one of the worst things you could hear is timber, because that joke is falling. And the Most High has been saying timber for a long time. Timber, and here you are still. Well, no, not yet. I gotta make sure that I do this. I gotta make sure I make this much money. You're part of a system that's falling. You're part of a system that's been falling. Who you guys call the first president? He's not. He's the eighth. That being said, who you guys call the first president? George Washington. Guess what? George Washington literally got 100% vote because he was a tyrant. But they messed around and gave persons the thought process of having too much power, so he had to go ahead and run for the hills. That's why he didn't run for a third or fourth term. He wasn't gonna make it. That's why Thomas Jefferson did his whole thing. Thomas Jefferson, he understood, and he wanted to make sure that he wasn't there for a long time. He was a very no. He ran for the hills. He was a terrible person. If these jokers could make it, they would. Look at Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was cheating on his wife with his own cousin and crazy foolishness like that later on, right, with Eleanor and stuff like cheating on Eleanor. But he died during his fourth term. If these jokers could be in, they would. And Cass didn't like that he actually was able to get enough persons behind him, and so they said, okay, now we'll just make it official. You can't make it but 2 times. This thing been falling. Yeah, missing his story, right? This thing been falling. You right? Person talking about Christian nationalism. You think Christian nationalism just started? The doctrine of discovery comes from Christian nationalism. If you don't know about the doctrine of discovery, that's when the Pope says, right, unofficially in 1452, that hey, anywhere that we go and we see people that don't look like us and they don't believe what we believe, and it's not a white male, so to speak, they didn't use those terms yet, but it's not a white male that's in charge. Hey, we discovered your place, and we have every right to go ahead and tear you apart. That's Christian nationalism. You think that just started? Colonization in the name of Jesus. You think that just started? Them talking bad about a territory. Person not even knowing Puerto Rico is part of the United States, because the average person is forgive me, because I'm talking to y'all who have kingdom sense, not common sense. I believe we're above average here, right? So I'm not speaking to the law of averages here. You ready? A lot of persons live quite idiotic lives when it comes to basic human rights. A lot of persons have never known history. Can I just be honest? I'm sorry. We give Holy Spirit, make sure you rein me in on this, because I don't want to come off crazy sounding. All right, look, real talk, my brother, real talk, my sister. These cats, a lot of them don't know what they talking about. Some of the persons y'all swear are the smartest are not the smartest. They heap up for themselves. 2 Timothy chapter 4. These persons out here have heaped up for themselves. You think that preacher is a great preacher. The reality is that preacher meets the criteria of giving everybody what they want, whether that person is aware of it or not. Joe Rogan made it as big as he is, and you start listening to him now everybody's starting to recognize and realize he don't really know what he's talking about. But it's not because he's doing this stuff on purpose. He doesn't know how to comprehend. He doesn't have the reading comprehension. He can read as many books as he wants, but he doesn't even care about somebody's culture enough to be able to get into that book. Right? He didn't know about somebody's culture enough to get into that book. Just like this book. Persons are busy telling you what it means and what it says and how you should operate and stuff. You don't know anything about it. They tell you they have all this knowledge, ever learning, like we talked about earlier, ever learning, but never coming into the knowledge of truth. It's sad, but it's true. And and we don't like to say it. It's real though. I know we don't want to say it. I know it sounds like I'm trying to joan on somebody. I'm trying to play the dozens. I'm trying to say somebody don't know what they talking about. Blah blah. I'm telling you the truth. I know. I'm telling you. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you not a truth. I'm telling you the truth. There are a lot of persons that live right. There's persons that live in Jamaica and don't know about the Spanish being there. I'm just trying to tell you, right? There's persons that are Dominican who say that they have no African or Native American blood in them, right? And they believe it. I'm just trying to tell you, like some of you know this stuff already. I'm trying to show you how persons are ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of truth, right? There are persons who are so-called African American that don't even realize that term, right, didn't even exist until Jesse Jackson, and really Afro American, which does go back a little bit to the 60s. It kind of sort of even has a little bit of stuff before then, but that was right, that was something. As far as the term African American is a specific type of Negro that you might want to be careful about. We have persons who don't know where this comes from. There are persons who don't care about the Igbo, but don't realize that if you know about the Igbo, you know about the Hebo. If you know about the Hebo, you know about the Ivrit. If you know about the Ivrit, you know about the Ivrit. If you know about the Ivrit, you know about the Avra. What's Avra in your Bible? Avra is the original term for Hebrew, which means that those persons are persons who are attached to the original Israel. But persons don't know. You're having conversations with persons who swear up and down that they're ready. That's why even when I've thought about it, and nobody's taken advantage of it recently, because I've opened up the doors. Now, I said if we're going to have, communication, if we're going to do any kind of debate, there's going to be rules involved, and we're going to treat each other with respect. Well, go on, Audrey, how you doing? And how you doing, sports? You know, uh, I've made it a point to tell persons that. That being said, I don't mind and going back and forth with somebody a little bit. There's certain things that just are up for debate. But that being said, I think it's healthy to do some apologetics. I think it is healthy that we have conversations from different perspectives. Really, I do. That being said, though, a lot of these cats, when they come at me or try to do whatever, I see very quickly, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not going to tell me that we're trying to bring back a language that has been dead for thousands of years, and the persons who tell you it's been dead for thousands of years tell you that they went to the Sephardic Jews and took their pronunciation and redid it, and took the original characters and redid them and put them in their image. If that's your mindset you're coming from, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what university you teach at. I don't care how much you travel around the world, because I'm telling you, you are unaware of what you're talking about. If you tell me that nobody who's so-called black can be an Israelite, and that we're just basically biting on somebody's culture, and you've never looked at the Gullah Geechee people, including what I was talking about earlier, the church in Savannah, Georgia, and the statue that's right there next to it, and the statue that has connection over to Haiti, the same place that when Christopher Columbus came over with a Hebrew interpreter, they told him in Hebrew dialect that they knew West Africans already and were making weapons the same way, which the Spanish and the Pope himself had to authenticate before you believed it, because it's not really a story unless it's his story. If you don't know that, then I'm having a conversation with somebody that is intellectually off. I'm not trying to say, how you doing, T? I'm not trying to say that to be mean. I'm trying to say that to be real. A lot of persons will read their Bible and have no clue what they're talking about. A lot of our people will read the Bible and say that there's no evidence. That's why we put that thing out for you guys. It's still up on YouTube, by the way. It's still there for SOC University online. If you missed it, just remind me. I told persons, you go look for it, but if not, remind me and I'll send you the link. And we didn't even go through but like probably a third of the information I had. And all I did was show you pictures with Hebrew characters on it that archaeologists have dug up and we know exist, that go back way past Christ's birth. And this ain't stuff that they can say we just making up now. This is stuff that archaeologists that they say they believe in, right? I know Noah's Ark thing, that was a farce. Nobody was ever supposed to, that was somebody who lied, right? There are some persons who lie on this. That's why we got to do our due diligence. We can't just every time somebody say Jesus, just jump on board because they sprinkle some Jesus on it. That being said, though, if we do our research and others have done research and they won't deny it. If you can, just text me, please. I might forget it. We got to get ready for the podcast. But these persons don't know what they're talking about. So we need to have a word of wormwood. We need to have a message of wormwood that comes in to the water, that comes into the people, that comes into the nation, and allows us to be able to be healed. Amen? All right. That's all that we have time for today. Thank you so much. We got to get ready for the word to come from Elder Anais at the top of the hour in about 7 minutes or so. So we're gonna go ahead and do the shout out real quick. So just look out for all the stuff that we have coming up. It should be posted up on Google Calendar. We're gonna have the podcast. We're gonna have the Shabbat school for the babies. We're gonna have a watch party. We're gonna meet together and do some regional meeting, but it'll be public. So there's certain things I can't say publicly, but we will do, and then we'll get into answering some questions regarding removing the leaven from our home. We have men's meeting tonight, and then we have hashtag SOC University this evening with what's the one I'm looking for? I forgot it again. Natural medicine. All right. Praise Yah. So we'll go ahead and we'll do all those things. We have those things on the docket. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Much love to you all. We got to get ready to go, so we'll get ready to do our shout out. Those of you who know how the shout out works, please do what you do. I'm gonna put the information up for the podcast. If you're new with us and if you'd like to be able to see the information, we'll put that information up real quick. But other than that, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and get out the way. I did put the book, Sister Shirley put the book in the chat for SOC University for common law. So if you want to get that and be ready for that before Friday. Also, too, I think you can get a PDF, but there's always something great about having a physical copy in your hand. So love you much. Thank you again for all you do. Thank you for everybody that does stuff in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, et cetera, et cetera. If it's your first time, last time, one time, maybe, whatever the case might be. If you're watching from all different platforms, thank you for coming on over, by the way, from the podcast, coming over from IG, coming over from Clapper, coming over and being with us on Facebook, with us on YouTube, with us on TikTok, being with us live later on. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him. For my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're going to get ready to go ahead and get into our shout out, and then we shall see you guys on the podcast. Thank you so much again. And remember, as always, beloved, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. Take care.